Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Monte and Wolf. I'm not Monte. He's still Wolf. I am dGon. I am the perfect 10 out of 10 predictor. That took 5 seconds, Wolf. How long did you think it would take for me to remind you that I got all of the week's predictions correct?
I honestly didn't even know you were a 10 out of 10er, to be honest, but that I'm impressed. I knew you got some of the weirder ones correct. Your belief in bro, which wasn't even crazy, by the way. Like I actually almost predicted bro. I initially predicted bro and then flip-flopped before the cutoff line was there. So I mean, congrats to you, man. Like it was a good week for you. You had a good read coming into it. You didn't like some of your predictions were safe when others took risks, and then some of your risks made sense when others were being too safe. So solid week for dGon.
Yes, we'll get to the main one in a little bit. That is the GenG and T1 homestand prediction. But first, we've got to talk about GenG dominance and maybe this team being one of the greatest teams ever, because even the greatest teams ever can lose. But GenG, they win over at MSI. They win over at EWC. T1 gets second at MSI. They don't get second at EWC, but overall, a pretty perfect month for GenG, and then a pretty great month for the LCK at international events here, Wolf, as GenG go back-to-back over at MSI. T1, they run the lower bracket. They beat AL and make it back on in. It just kind of feels like it is more LCK dominance and even more dominant than the last several years because a couple of the LPL counterparts haven't been able to step up.
Yeah, I mean we've had years where it's LPL is winning every international tournament barely, and it's an LPL versus LCK finals every time. This feels like the timeline where it's a LCK versus LPL for a while, and LCK is barely eking out those wins. Remember T1's win last year, or the World Championship, was in that final game. And on one side, when LPL won everything, right, and when Dplus Kia lost Game 5, when T1 lost Game 5, like, and it happened over and over and over again, where LCK was defeated in Game 5s, and everyone on the LPL side was saying, oh, LPL is better, and everyone on the KR side was like, well, it was only one game, it was only Game 5. A lot of people on the LCK side, myself included, were like, well, it was very close. I still think both regions are incredibly close. The LPL won those trophies, and we have to give them their stripes for that, and we have to honor that because they are the champions ultimately, and that's what a best of 5 is all about, is winning that third game, whether it's the third game in the series or the fifth game in the series. So now I'm not just going to retroactively be like, oh yeah, LCK's better, like got him every time, when it was like Game 5s, repeatedly over and over again. Not at MSI last year, but obviously at EWC this year, and at EWC's BO5s that got close, T1 versus AL. So I think that AL, rather than LPL, is very strong. The Korean side of things does seem to have a little bit more depth in that it has two teams, and Monte Wolf Esports is kind of there. I am really impressed with the performances we did see from AL, coming out of a region where that team and some of its players, some of its moving parts had like really struggled on different rosters. They kind of came together and made whatever is the opposite of a super team, like the struggle team, and then yet it ends up being like a beautiful success story. GenG kind of arguably barely won the finals at EWC.
Barely.
Yet the games they won were all incredibly dominant. Like the 3 games they won weren't games, but then the 2 games they lost were a bit of a struggle. And like if maybe the Game 5 draft goes a little bit differently, or there isn't a ruler double kill early, maybe AL actually end up winning the whole thing, right? So I want to brag about our region, but I also want to contextualize that things could have gone very differently if just a few games went differently, right? T1 looking really good. Also at MSI, I think surprising a lot of people. They had that run through the road to MSI, right? Which a lot of people attributed to Perfect playing very badly. A lot of people, that attributed it to like Hanwha Life being boomed from the reverse sweep, and then just not being able to bounce back at all. And a lot of people were saying the T1 kind of got lucky. Like this was just on the roadshow on the day they had the form. Doran randomly overperformed, and T1 is actually not going to be that good, which was just completely false. Right? They were incredibly strong in MSI. Less strong though at EWC, where both they and HLE just bombed out to AL.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like HLE bombed out way more disappointingly. At least T1, they had their moment and they were able to make it to the third, fourth place game and then beat the crap out of G2 in the third place game. But yeah, for both GenG and T1, it has been an insane schedule from Worlds last year, especially for T1. They had the turnover with the roster. They had a league of our own, and straight into LCK, into then their break, I guess, because they boomed out of LCK Cup. But the amount of games that they've played compared to the counterparts is super high. The only one that might be able to battle that is Anyone's Legends. I believe they won the Demacia Cup. And so with that, they'd been playing since the beginning of the year. But the jet lag getting to Riyadh was real for everyone, broadcast people included. A lot of fumbling, making mistakes. I can only imagine what that was like, being on stage and needing to execute as well. So, but either way, pretty solid showing. All international titles still held by the LCK. Last one held by LNG when they beat BLG. I think it was BLG over in 2023. Is it BLG or is it JDG? It was BLG. In 2020. All right. No, now I got to go check. Was it JDG beat
MSI? Yeah.
Yeah, JDG beat LNG or BLG. Oh shit, I'm just making stuff up.
Now you're making me second guess myself. I'm pretty sure it was BLG. JDG
like
beat BLG. Yeah, JDG 3-1 BLG.
Why do I?
That was the LPL finals, where T1 barely beat GenG, then lost to JDG, and BLG also smashed GenG in lower bracket.
Where was I? What was I doing at that time? I remember
I was out with friends, watching on my phone, being very sad and trying not to watch, especially the 3-0. The GenG loss to BLG, that was the tough night for me because I didn't think T1 was going to get it done. T1 ended up, making it closer than I thought, like in that 5-gamer. Anyway, that's old history now.
That's history, yeah.
But a lot of the LPL teams are split up and broken up, and they're not performing well. And like this is not an LPL talk show, so I'm not going to get super deep into it. But the doom and gloom of the LPL fans every time I see like well, I guess the LPL will collapse now because I heard rumblings that because they didn't win, like there's no money. I don't know if that sounds a bit overzealous to me. I think AL is incredibly good. I think top esports can get their act together. I think this is a region that will compete with us, and I hope so. Because if LCK just wins everything, then it's bad for everybody, right? Like in the long term, people just get bored of watching the same teams over and over and over again. So I do want the LPL to do well, but they are not compared to the LCK in terms of those final games that decide series.
As you said, this is not an LPL talk show, but you got to say BLG kind of looking like bro because they have signed their third jungler in Shadow, joining the team now. Shadow, formerly of Mad Lions, throwback. I think most recently he was over at FPX. He was at one of those teams and then moved back on up. So anyways, maybe BLG can get their stuff together because we know how good the other parts of that team can be. All right. With that, during EWC time, at the very end of it, we're like, man, T1's still here. What are they doing? Got the photo with the handshake and a big bag of money. They signed a 3-year partnership with, I guess, development company, real estate development company, Red Sea Global. So Red Sea Global, this is their Twitter bio. One of the most visionary developers putting people and planet first to create new projects along Saudi's Red Sea coast, including Visit Red Sea and Amala. So they do this partnership. Why is this a big deal, Wolf?
So, in terms of what this company is, you can look them up on Wikipedia. They're basically trying to make and build places for people to travel in on the Red Sea border of Saudi Arabia. And obviously, you guys know the Red Sea, you know where it is. It's a relatively, it seems like, just based on my brief research into it, somewhat underutilized tourism like sector. And Saudi Arabia is, for the most part, a large desert, right? And there's a lot of stuff you can do in Riyadh. There's actually a lot of really cool stuff you can do in Riyadh. There's a lot, like edge of the world thing you can do. You can go ride camels. Like there's a lot of experiences there. But I think for a lot of people, they're looking for more, right? So I think this is one of the ways in which you could try to make Saudi Arabia more appealing to people, which is obviously one of the big game plans of Saudi Arabia over the last 10 years, is to try to make its country more appealing for visitors from overseas, right? T1 is, we know has been run, SK Telecom T1 has been run essentially by and owned by SK Telecom, the telecom company, which when I was younger, I'd always tell people that's like, if you're in America, think about AT&T or Verizon, right? So it's a huge company, but in the scope of Korea, it's like way bigger than that. Like to put this in perspective, this is one of the biggest companies in Korea, up there with like Samsung. They do way more than just telecom now. Like, they do internet, obviously. They have a whole science department. They do a lot of tech research. Like, this company is massive. And so, Comcast obviously got involved with T1 a few years ago. They rebranded, instead of being SK Telecom T1 to just T1, the team. And they've been the main partner. SK Telecom has still been the main partner up until this announcement, where there's an image that I'm sure you guys have seen. Maybe we'll put it in the description or something, where Red Sea Global is listed as the main partner instead of SK Telecom. So the money, we don't know the public figure. Like, there is no public figure. We don't know the money that's in this deal. But I can tell you guys, based on the fact that they are willing, T1, the org is willing to say Red Sea Global is our main partner, not SK Telecom. The money must be massive enough to keep this roster together for as long as T1 wants to. Massive enough to sign Faker for 4 more years. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I just want to, I want to give people, I feel like this has really gone under the radar. Like, no one's really talking about this. I want to remind people that T1 has always been the most well-funded Korean team, and arguably during certain times in esports, I would say during most of esports, the history of it, the most well-funded team in esports, period. And now they have another sponsor that's like, all that big money that got you Faker forever and all the rosters you've built and all the super teams, there's like more money than that, by the way, in here now. That's crazy to me. Like, this team can do whatever they want. They have so much money. And it's because they do all these content things, right? It's because they put their players in all these advertisements. It's because they go to Red Bull Battlegrounds. It's because they don't say no when sponsors knock on the door and say, hey, I would like you to do this. We love your team. We love Faker, et cetera, et cetera. Your team is the most popular esports org, period. T1 says, yes, like, we will continue to bring in sponsorship money and become a sustainable esports org and get our players the bag year after year. And I always will respect T1 for making these massive deals and partnering, because it's why this team hasn't lost anyone. Like, Zeus is the only player they've lost, basically, since they built this roster, right? Like, no one else has been like, I'm out of here. There have been rumblings and rumors, like maybe Carrier is going to go to Hanwha Life Esports or something like that. But ultimately, they've been able to keep this roster for so long because they have so much money. And now they have more dGon.
Well, think of it from that point of view beyond this roster. Who has left T1 that T1 has wanted to keep? Like,
Zeus, that's it.
Ever. Right.
Like, ever?
Yeah. Like, think
I'd have to go back. I'd really have to scroll back.
Like, Marin, maybe? Like, when he took the LPL bag? Like, everyone else has felt like it's been, they're going to take the bag move, or they wish they could have stayed on T1 move. I can't remember another move. And
yeah,
even then,
there have been players that were replaced, obviously, that probably wanted to stay on T1, but
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
But
the player
I'm
never had the choice.
I don't know the full story on what happened with Scout, obviously, back in the day, because that's one of those stories where, you know, maybe that went differently than what we expect. But that's just after looking at like basically a list very quickly of every former T1 pro. It's unless I'm forgetting something and you guys can roast me in the comments. Yeah, basically Zeus is the big one, and in modern recent history, it's the only one. And you know, there was a whole recent apology about this and all that, which we're not going to get into that much on this show because I think it's been discussed to death. It was probably just part of a settlement agreement with Zeus, his family, his agency, and T1. So they suddenly made an apology, but that's it, right? Like, and the fact that T1 can now potentially afford to like snipe Keen or something like that is crazy. I'm not saying that Keen will necessarily want to go, but they could try for it. You know what I mean? That's insane.
Hey, GenG fans, I didn't say that. Whoops. I will say,
well, if you're T1 and you have unlimited money, why wouldn't you try? Like, you could upgrade your top lane and then take away your number one rival's top laner. Like 100%, if you have unlimited money, you like make a phone call, right?
Because DOFGK, that's why. Because that's the crew there. But we'll see. Yeah, I like that you brought up the amount of money because it did feel like, wow, Hanwha Life Insurance has a crap ton of money to be able to compete. GenG does not, right? GenG has money, but you know, it was Hanwha and T1 spending at like Chebo rates, and now we're beyond that with this signing. I'm very interested to see what figures end up coming out from this, whether it's leaked, whether it's announced, whatever it ends up being, both that partnership. And then the big takeaway, the immediate response from this signing is at Homeground after their 2-0 victory over Nongshim. It is announced that T1 signs not for 1 year, not for 2 years, not for, I guess it is 3 more years. 3 more years. So 2029, the end of 2029, he's going to be with the team for 4 more whole years. That's Red Sea Global.
So I think
work.
I mean, Red Sea Global definitely a big part of this, right? When I saw this announcement last night, I was kind of just like on my computer twiddling my thumbs, and then I decided, like, you know what, I'll see what's on Twitter right now. I'm bored, you know? And I saw this, like, came out 30 minutes before I saw it, and I was like, what? You know, this got announced at the Homeground. I obviously wasn't there on site. I wasn't even casting or working. It was my day off yesterday. So I just hadn't seen that. I don't know when the news broke exactly, but I saw the Twitter post, right? And I kind of lost my mind because for us, you know, I was talking about this on the LCK jokingly about BDD, you know, like, I don't know how long League of Legends is going to last, but I hope it's long enough for my daughter to see BDD win a world championship. We always wonder, like, how long League will go and how long Faker will stay. And there's every year, is Faker out of form? Is this his last year? When's he going to retire? We're not sure. It happens every year. And then most people have been in the industry for a long time, are like, he's still making the bag. He's probably not going to retire. Everybody calm down. But then there are always those people who are like, once Faker retires, League of Legends will die immediately. And that is how it's going to go. And that's not true, in my opinion, but it will take a huge hit because when Faker is on the screen, the viewership numbers go up. Those viewership numbers get put into averages, and that's how we sell sponsors for even days that have poorer viewership. You know, when you're watching teams that just aren't as popular around the world. Every international stream record that's broken, like Faker is on it, right? The number goes whoop when Faker's on it. So that Faker is signing for 4 more years means that SK Telecom, you know, Comcast, Red Sea Global, all of the T1 partners are feeling confident enough that League has at least 4 more years in it. Otherwise, there's no reason to make this signing, right? For this long of a time period. So that's them having probably the best read in terms of esports with the experience they have. and like how long they've been around. They saw the rise and fall of Brood War, right? Like they were in the thick of that, which is the only other esport that's really been close to that you can even mention as kind of in competition for best esport ever in Korea with League of Legends. They know all these things. They have all these reads. They have all this data. They make all this revenue. And they're like, yeah, 4 years. We can do that. Yeah, that'll work. That's a really good sign for everybody who's involved in this ecosystem, including me and you, including the fans who want to keep watching the show. Like,
Job
League of
security,
Legends got 4 more years. Fuck yeah. 4 more years of League of Legends, 4 more years of Faker. And some people are like,
Faker.
He'll be washed when he's 33. I don't know. People said he was going to be washed when he was 25. People said he was going to be washed when he was 23. Man's sitting here in his late 20s now, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll play until I'm 33. We'll see what happens after that." I'm blown away by this news because I thought we get an announcement. Faker gets one more year, and everyone sits on the edge of their seat every year, going, "Oh, I guess this is the year he might retire." You know, every time around this, midway through summer split, which is coming up in about like 4 weeks for us, where we're getting to that point where we're like, "Oh, it's almost to the end." That's when we're like, oh man, Faker's bad. His wrist injury, he's performing poorly. Like T1 is doomed, and then they win the world championship. We're like on the way to that arc, and that's the time when everyone's like, I guess Faker will retire, man. He got gapped by closer that one time, or oh man, UCal beat him that one time, so I guess it's over. And they're like, no, 4 more years. 4 more years, Faker. Crazy stuff. Incredibly good news. Incredibly good news. If you were hoping for a new mid laner on T1, sorry, it's bad news for you. But like, you know what?
Yeah.
I think for most people, pretty good news.
Poby knew. He was like, I gotta get out of here.
That's good. He's like, Humanoid's not getting signed for 4 more years.
This has to be like some of the biggest esports news in a very, very long time. Just because of, I mean, anywhere you go that has to do with League of Legends or esports agnostic stuff, Faker is always in the conversation. He was everywhere for at EWC. It was everywhere over at MSI, and it's just so fascinating that it's like locked in for 4 years, which means he's getting what he wanted in terms of finances. T1 is getting what they wanted. Everyone's getting what they want. As of right now, obviously things can change. Maybe he's like, okay, my wrist is actually broken now. I can't play. Or like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Coaching role or something. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can do.
Yeah, because when I think about, like, for example, one of the GOATs of the West in Bjergsen, he retired. He's gone. When's the last time that you've heard or thought of Bjergsen like in human form and not in highlight form?
It's when people brought him up for potentially being the next, Hall of Famer, Hall of Legends. Like, that's it. But beyond that, like...
Yeah, before that.
People don't talk about him, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you think about some of the greatest players of all time, not to cut you off there, but some of the greatest players of all time in their games, everyone in the game knows it at that time, right? But sometimes, like, other gamers don't necessarily know. People have made the comparison to Flash and Faker all the time. Like, until even very recently, like, this has come up. You know, I've had many conversations with Monte about it on this very show. But some people still say Flash is a greater, more successful player than Faker. I don't agree with that anymore. Although if you asked me like 8 years ago, I feel like there was a real discussion that could be had there. But if you talk to League players, or League fans rather, or Counter-Strike fans, or even some StarCraft 2 fans, I would say most StarCraft 2 fans would know, or like a Rocket League fan, in modern era, they don't know who Flash is.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they've heard of him, but they don't know of his achievements. Like, they're like, oh, that's that Korean guy who won a lot of, like, StarCraft. I never watched StarCraft. Faker has kind of transcended that to where if you're not even a fan of League, you have definitely heard of this guy. Like, no matter what, period. And so that's why he's a big ambassador for companies like Red Sea Global, right? Or any other sponsor that T1's picked up. If you're trying to sell hardware and you see Faker's face on it, you're like, I don't even play games. I don't watch esports that much, but I know that new monitor looks real cool, and that guy's the guy. He's the guy who's the greatest gamer. If he thinks that monitor's pretty good, maybe I should trust his opinion. He's so like omnipotent in esports. Even if he loses, he like says the right thing in the interview. It's hard to hate Faker. There are a lot of people do it somehow. But it's hard to hate him. And the man is like giving us all additional stability. I feel like he can't save esports on his own, obviously, but this is such a good sign. Such a good sign. For what is to come.
I would say Park Ji-sung, one of the greatest footballers, if not the greatest footballer of all time from South Korea, played for Manchester United, did not have Flash as his top 5 people who he'd love to eat dinner with. But Son Heung-min, Sonny, definitely has Faker as his top 5 people he'd like to have dinner with. All right? So there. That's my comparison. If you don't get that one, I'm out of comparisons. Okay. So huge news there. Stability across the board. And I don't know, man. You're saying Faker can't save esports. I don't know what more you could do. I don't know what more you could do. That he's 4 more years and we'll see. What's up, y'all? dGon here. I mean, you already knew that. But also, I'm here with our Turtle Beach Stealth 700 headset. That's right. Wearing it because we're using it, just like we do with products that we want to get to you. And our friends over at Turtle Beach have engineered the best headset on the market, which is why I use it. It is the Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset. It's like stepping into the golden age of gaming all over again. Remember the time when you just wanted to hear every footstep, but you had like scratchy sound kind of stuff? Well, don't worry about that. Crystal clear audio right here. You also have the opportunity to connect to multiple different devices with its industry's first ever cross-play dual wireless transmitter system. So I just push this button right here, Bluetooth, boop, boom, straight to my phone or whatever. You can connect it to your console as well as the PC, obviously, using the USB dongle. And remember that it's super lightweight, very comfortable. If you forget to charge it every now and then because, cables or whatever, it has an insane 80-hour battery life with quick charge. So you have to rarely think about charging it. It's awesome. Again, I maybe you've seen it, broke one of them before, bought a new one using our code here, which is Monte Wolf. You want to use the code Monte Wolf to help support the show and get yourself one of the best headset here to get 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your entire order at turtlebeach.com using the code Monte Wolf. That is 10% off at turtlebeach.com using the code Monte Wolf. They ask you where you heard about us after you purchase, so make sure to let them know that we sent you here at Monte Wolf. We appreciate all of you supporting the show as you always do, and we love giving you the products that we use ourselves so you can enjoy your gaming and just kind of life better. So thanks to our friends over at Turtle Beach. Use the code Monte Wolf, 10% off your entire order. So I went to Homeground. Let's talk about Homeground a little bit. I went to Homeground over at the Inspire Arena and Resort and Casino for foreigners. But Josh did say I ran into Joe and Josh and Becker, the homies that you get to hang out with. And Josh did say, we want this to kind of feel like a T1 con a little bit, like a convention. And it was great. It was packed. The fans showed up. The GenG fans had their section. The Nongshim fans had their section. The Nongshim fans showed up. They were able to fill it out. I assume because it was a Sunday compared to a Friday, but it was a great event. And he did say on that Friday, because that was the day I got to go. Yeah, the halftime things, because they had like T1 Challengers or T1 Academy play, and they had a show match with tens there on Saturday. And then on Sunday, they had like a K-pop group. They had multiple different musical performances play in between at halftime. He was like, but the big thing is we're going to have some announcements. And I had a feeling. Because I think Izu re-signed, and that was their announcement on Saturday for Valorant. And on Sunday, I was like, I wonder who's re-signing, and I wonder how long it was. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's Faker. You see the video. I'm like, oh, it's Faker. And it goes 2026, 2027. I'm like, okay, 2-year deal. 2028. Okay, 3-year deal. Okay, 2029. I was like, damn, this kind of event and this kind of moment is going to make people want to come back and go to these kind of home grounds. Because you think about GenG's home ground, right? They played, was it KT? Who I forgot who they played.
I believe.
Yeah. No, KT. It was the KT home ground. They played Dplus. I forgot. It was KT, Dplus, and T1. It was KT, T1, and then Dplus GenG. And those ones were like, dang, this was nice for the fans. This one was, this is for the fans, and it was 3-day, and maybe again, it was a 3-day thing. It was multi-title, LCK allowing multiple teams. Very, very interesting. However, T1 did the most, like the absolute most you could do with that type of event, because people I was talking to that went, it was a concert. I would have paid this much to go see a musical. They had a musical person there. So anyways, great job on the event. And I didn't want to get stuck too much on it, but I needed to give it its props because it was fascinating.
I think it's fun to talk about this because we've big up these events so much on the show, and this one felt like the biggest culmination of some of the trials and errors of the previous ones, right? And they had this new venue, right? This venue, Inspire, opened very recently. They partnered up early. Like, it was very smart and very like I don't know, almost say like it was an entrepreneurial type move from T1 to be like, let's get into this early. Let's get involved in this. This is a great place for people to travel to. It's going to bring a lot of people to this new resort basically, and that's what a resort that's in a relatively remote location. It's not in Seoul. It's in Incheon. Needs is to move foot traffic to it, and then maybe you bring thousands of people there, and then they're like, I really like this hotel, and I want to come back again. I want to bring my family here. I want to bring my wife here, etc. So it was just a genius move by them, because the venue itself is more than a venue. Like, it's actually a place that generates revenue just by people being there, basically. Yeah. So strong partnership, makes a ton of sense. The stream, so I will say, like, my biggest criticism I have of this event is the stream and the feed that we have. So we obviously are not there. We have a feed that's sent to LoLPark, was incredibly washed out. For player cams, for the arena shots. I'm sure for you, because you actually went there, like, you could see how cool it was in reality. And I went and watched some of the co-streamers that were there and stuff like that. It looked really cool. I mean, it looked okay on stream, but a lot of the feeds were super washed out. And I think that's the one thing I would say could be improved, because even when we're in-game, because in-game looks perfect, right? Because the observers are still in LoLPark. But the player cams that are on the bottom are like washed out and look blurry, and there's like static going on. It's like I'm watching an antenna TV where like reception is pretty good, but it could be better. It's not as good as cable, where there's just a little bit of static over everything. It could have been done better. I've seen a lot of criticism of both Western and Korean fans, which I find, especially the Korean fans, to be really surprising. That a lot of people are like, well, I still don't understand what the point of this is, because isn't this like a League of Legends competition? Isn't it supposed to be fair? Like, why did T1 get to have like the game where like everyone's cheering for them? Yeah. And I'm like, but have you ever been to a home team live event for sports where it's like the same thing? Like when you have a KBO team travel to play against Doosan and Jamsil, like, obviously the Doosan fans, there's more of them, like that's was one of the big Seoul teams. That I watched. Like, I used to go watch the Doosan Bears and Jamsil all the time, and like the Samsung Lions are there. I think they might have rebranded, but anyway, the Samsung Lion fans are there, and there's a lot of them, but they're not as loud, and there's not as many of them. Just like the Nongshim fans you mentioned, I was shocked when I watched the Nongshim game yesterday. It felt like it with how the crowd was when they showed the crowd shots when T1 fans were cheering. It almost looked like 50-50. I know it wasn't, but like it looked like half of the crowd was like, only half of the crowd was cheering during T1. It looked like almost half of the crowd was cheering for Nongshim on the other side. I know it wasn't, but like it looked like the Nongshim fans were out in full force. Just like the KT fans we've seen when they did the Telecom War at one of these homestand type events. I think this is incredibly healthy. I'm not sure, because I've never been to this venue. I saw the camera shots. Would you say this venue looked like it was bigger than our Road to MSI venue? Would you say that's true? Like, would you say that it seemed like the venue was actually bigger than our Road to MSI venue in Busan?
No, it was definitely not, because of the height. Like, the Road to Busan Stadium, the Busan Indoor Sajik Indoor Stadium, has like higher levels, whereas this was two and a half, like the half levels, like the club seating, but then above that was like only one more, whereas Sajik goes up. That one goes up. So,
Okay. So
the reason why it feels bigger is because it's a smaller venue. They can
Sure.
fill it all the way around. That's why.
And you can see more on the shot. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So I thought maybe there were like some upper seating and stuff that like wasn't shown on camera. It just looked really good, right? Like I felt like the camera shots did more justice to how many people were there than often our shots did at the road to MSI. And now that you've explained it that way, that makes more sense. For context, obviously I was at road to MSI, but I wasn't in person at this moment. So like I look at this and think, why aren't we doing more like this? Like how is T1 is able to make this deal where they know, like T1 is guaranteed to play, right? Obviously, T1 is talking to Inspire me, like we're playing, we're going to bring a ton of people. We have facts and data to back this up. I'm surprised LCK isn't taking these same opportunities to go, look, it's like an 80% chance T1 will be there. They will be playing. They have these numbers. They bring these people. Yeah, there's an off chance that you get a big venue like this for just like the first round of playoffs or something, and T1 actually bombs and doesn't make it. When they're expected to be in this trajectory. But I think that we should be doing more of this. Like right now we're doing the road show was nice because it was an expanded 3-day, but otherwise we're doing the
four franchises. That's what I keep hammering home. We got 4 franchises to be able to be celebrated at this.
Yeah. And like we have our old format last year where we do lower bracket finals into grand finals is a 2-day thing. Maybe we could do that still, but then also have like the winners finals gets its own venue because those are the 2 best teams and they'll bring a huge audience. Like I feel like we should be. I know it's a logistical nightmare, and for people who don't want to travel and don't want to move all those cameras and stuff, it's like, oh, I am not doing that. But I think that's how we grow. Like we actually have to be doing more of this. And T1 is like, I'm not even a production company. I'm not even a TV company. And yet, I'm going to hire all these people. We're going to do all these logistical things. We're going to set up this incredibly tough challenge and make this venue happen. And yeah, the first ones were kind of a fail. Remember the first one where the chair walkouts and everything was a disaster? Like, we've come so far since then. This event seems incredibly successful. I want to see more like this. Like, why can't GenG versus Hanwha in upper bracket finals be at a venue? Like, why can't LCK set that up? I think they can, and I think they should be, and I think that's where we move to the next level. Events like this are so cool, and I know some people complain like it's not fair. They have a fair. You can make your own homestand if you're a Nongshim fan. Like your team can do that. Like anyone can do it. Obviously, T1 has a ton of money, but I think the LCK can also help facilitate this sort of growth in the future. And we have to like let T1 do it the most, do it the biggest, and do it the best because they have the most money, to then show that it's successful. And most fans, like, and show that it's successful, so that smaller teams like Hanwha can be like, I want to take that risk for us too, because there's proof and there's data to back it up. So I think this is a huge win for everybody. And I know how T1 has a lot of haters. I know T1 has its staff and stuff has taken a lot of flack for some of the decisions it's made around like Smash and Guma and the announcements around that, what happened with Zeus and then the recent apology. But we have to give T1 credit, and I will always circle jerk about T1's robust coaching staff, how they are as an org, how they are as a business, and making moves like this is just insanely smart, insanely successful, and like the biggest team just keeps making the right decision and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I want everyone else to catch up, because I think it's not that T1 is the only org that can do this. I think a lot of people think that T1 is so big they can do whatever they want. They're the only one that can do this. I think other orgs can do this, maybe at a smaller scale at first, but that's how you become as big as T1, is you have to take these steps.
I think GenG is doing the most with what they can. I think Hanwha's doing great, like probably the best with their content. Because I watch their shoulder content, and their I was actually watched their ad reads recently. They have like ad content. It was like with Monster Energy and with what was the other one that they had? Oh, with Razor. And I was like, this is entertaining. They're using their players, and I think it's very unique that these top teams are starting to understand how to teach their players, like, hey, you want all these nice things? We got to do this stuff. And since we got to do it, let's have fun doing it. And then people will have fun, and then it'll just build upon itself. Like one of the this is the last part about the homestand, but it was just crazy. One of the most interactive, fed into the parasocial nature of the T1ness was their Ralph Lauren like augmented reality booth. So they signed a deal with Ralph Lauren. They have the players like film to the screen, be like, "안녕하세요, 안녕하세요," like they're talking to you, right? While you're waiting in line. Then you go in line, and it's like a photo shoot room, and it's open so everyone can see. So you do the photo shoot, but they've augmented reality in the screen that you're looking at where the camera is, whichever player you pick next to you. So you could pick Dorian, Owner, Faker, Goomer, Carria, and they're here next to you, and they're like, they basically go like "안녕하세요," and then they pose with you. So it's like here, and then you do the Carria pose, and then you do the thumbs up, and then you do one more pose, and then they wave you goodbye, and then they go off the screen, and you're doing the same thing here. It's like you're a weatherman, I guess, but it was all like the fangirls and all this stuff, and then you get the video sent to you, and it's just like, that's how you feed the fandom. And also, that's how you get the partners that are like, wow, what a great activation. I'll pay 10 times, 50 times more than an ad read during a video. And it's just, that's how far they're at. And the other teams are starting to figure it out. So it does feel healthy. It does feel good. Hopefully these brands continue to grow. They learn from the path that T1 is blazing here.
I do have my one more thing, and like I did do some T1 glazing on this show today, which I think is well deserved by T1. But I will say, there was once a mascot for T1, SK Telecom. T1. Okay, there was once a mascot. You can. I want you guys. Anyone watching this, and if you're like watching in your car because you're listening to the podcast, you don't even have video. Just like
pull over.
Make a Siri reminder. You can pull over, but like make a Siri reminder or something. Look this up when you go home. Look up T1 Bunky, okay? Bunkie. T1 Bunky, okay? Is SK Telecom?
Oh my god! Oh my god! What is this?
So Bunky, I think was. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think the name comes from bunker, from like bunker rushing. StarCraft 1. And I think he has like an alter ego Binky, which is like a devilish looking one that was used less often. But anyway, there was Bunky, and I think it's Binky, the red devil looking mascot. So they had a mascot that was loved. I don't know when they retired this ultimately, because I don't know if they really used this that much in League of Legends. I think they did early. This looks like a T1 mascot to me, right? For SK Telecom T1, with the T1 logo, with the wings and everything else, it looks so T1 to me, right? Like SK Telecom T1, the StarCraft Brewer team. I look at this and I go, this oozes what this team is to me, right? Now, for those of you who don't know, you can look up T1 Ati, the new mascot. Okay, you guys have seen the new one with the fire on its head,
the Phoenix.
That they just really announced recently. And to me, nothing about this says T1. I'm like, this is like a Poro or something. What is this? Is like, this is a TFT character, right? Like this is not a T1. It's got its egg, so I guess it's supposed to be a Phoenix, but it's they had like a teaser leading up to this, spot the mysterious egg hidden in T1. Is what it literally says in Korean. You never know what the mystery egg is. It's a new mascot, and they did Bunky dirty. Why'd they kill Bunky? They could have just repurposed Bunky with a new T1 logo and kept the history alive. And Bunky was cute, and Bunky had like cool space ears and looked like an esports mascot. This is like too cute. Also, it doesn't even look like. There's something about the Genrangi, right? The Genrangi is cute, but also feels very GenG, right? I'm like, it's a tiger. It's obviously GenG. Like Genrangi, perfect. This I don't know. If someone showed this to me, there was no way I'm gonna draw the connection between this and T1, except the like logo on the left part of the chest, like which is on the right if you're looking directly at it. The T1 logo there. If I don't see that T1 logo, there is no way I associate this mascot with T1 ever. So I don't know. Somebody messed up here. This is not what I wanted. Okay, I will say this was not the move I'll give to T1. Where's Bunky?
Trucks for Bunky. Where's I don't know why I was saying worse. If I would have looked at this without knowing any mascots, I would have assumed it was Nongshim's mascot, right? Because it's
Yeah, it looks like
spicy.
Nongshim colors.
It's
It's got the fire.
chicken flavor ramen. Like that. I would have gone with that. However, I've heard from multiple people that are the target audience that Ati was well designed for the target audience of T1 fans. I'll leave it at that. Also, Gumayushi wore the outfit like like I think on one of the days. So it's now forever in the lore. Rip Bunky. I'm sorry. Unlucky.
Look at this
All right.
CJ Intus mascot. Okay. Posted it in our little production chat. I don't know, maybe this could be edited in for like 2 seconds.
Please.
This doesn't
Oh my god.
This doesn't look like CJ Entis right away. Okay. But like it has a ton of CJ Entis stuff on it, right? It feels very CJ Entis for that reason, and its colors on its like weird striped shirt thing are CJ's colors. Okay, I mean, T1 market research isn't going to make Adi a good mascot.
Yeah.
Right,
leaving the sandal on the ground next to the outlet on top of the bed that he sleeps on, covered in foam everywhere, is definitely the play of the future.
Yeah, no, he's the CJ1 mascot he's using his CJ1 points card to get savings so he can hopefully get out of the basement he lives in.
No. All right. Well, okay. Hey y'all. dGon here. Just kind of like conversation, a little more personal conversation here, because something that's pretty personal to me is my health. Like to be a fitness kind of guy. And a big part of that is what you put in your body. And it's important to put good stuff in your body while saving time so that you can do everything you need to do in the day. And one way to do that is our friends over at Factor. Now, Factor, obviously, as we've said before, has a wider selection of weekly meal options compared to other competitors, including premium seafood choices for those of you that like to check out the sea, like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. Now, they also support wellness goals like GLP-1 friendly meals and the new Mediterranean diet with options packed with protein and good for you fats. Because, since we are fitness people, we know that not all fats are bad. But more importantly, to make sure that I don't get bored of the different types of meals they have, for the first time ever, they have Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. So if you get kind of bored, your tongue gets bored, don't worry about it. Factor has you covered. And for more nutrition choices, 97% of the customers say that Factor has helped them live a healthier life so you can feel the difference no matter what your routine is. Like, do a show and then go work out and then do another show. Who's to say how you build your day? But Factor is a great way to do it. Now, make sure you eat smart at factormeals.com/MonteWolf50 off and use the code MonteWolf50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's MonteWolf50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off plus free shipping. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with your friends over at Factor. Thanks to our friends over at Factor. Gosh, I guess. All right, we'll touch on it. We're almost done with the T1 stuff. I'll touch on it a little bit because they were both there and I saw them sneaking under the radar somewhere. It was on Wednesday because it was on the GenG Hanwha, and this will be how we get out of T1 talk. Was the apology video that came out at 10 p.m. Korea time. Which was the perfect time because LCK had just ended. At that time, T1 makes an apology, public apology, to Zeus and to the play about the controversy that happened earlier in the week. It was Josh on the COO, not Joe Marsh, the CEO, who made the statements, doing the apology. It was apologizing for the controversy that happened, but not incriminating, I would say, is probably the best way to put it here, Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, when the announcement came out that they were going to make a live stream and discuss this, everyone was kind of, for the most part, pretty shocked to see that this was being brought up again, and eyebrows were being raised. And it felt like if you didn't think about why this was happening, you'd be like, well, I don't know why they would just announce they have bad PR coming at a specific time, and it's going to continue. It seems very obvious to most people in the industry, and like we'll probably never get hard confirmation of this. Maybe one day we will, but it seems very obvious that a settlement was made between these parties, right? The play, Zeus' family potentially involved in this, and T1. And part of that was an apology has to be made, right? So a public apology had to be made in part of the settlement. That's what it seems like, right? It seems very obvious that's the case. And so T1, held up their end of the bargain and made a public apology about it. I don't think the apology itself was very... when your mom asks you to apologize again when you're a kid, mom might have been like, I guess we'll let it go this time, but I don't know if he really meant it. It felt like that kind of apology, but it felt like a legal apology, because I think that's probably what happened. I don't know. I'm speculating here. It's the same speculation I think that most people have at this point, given what went down with it. But at the end of the day, that was kind of weird. But I'm not that interested in talking about it because I don't know that much about it. But that seemed like that was the case.
Yeah, I mean the crux of it is specifically at the start of free agency, there were offers and counteroffers exchanged. At one point around noon of the first day of free agency, we believe we had a mutual agreement had been reached. At that time, the play had communicated they received a counteroffer from Homeground Life Esports with a deadline, and we later confirmed such a deadline did exist. However, during my call, this was Josh on, during my call with Homeground Life at the time, we were given the impression that there was no deadline, which led to a misunderstanding on our part towards the play. So, with all that said, I'm just very fascinated with how things are going. It feels very good cop, bad cop kind of feel. Joe speaks to the base. Josh speaks to the base in a different way, right? And has come out and he did the AMA. He's now done the apology video. And it's been very fascinating to see these two work and lead T1 out of this tough rut at the beginning of the year. And then into kind of this moment now where it's like, okay, done and dusted. We're good. Now we can just focus on league. Faker's good. We don't have to worry about planning for this huge event. It was a huge success. What could go wrong? And I guess we'll find out for the rest of the split. All right, we don't have a lot of time left because we have to shorten this episode despite the fact that there was a lot that was happening.
Yeah, there's a lot happening, so you gotta crunch it all in.
So with all that said, I don't know why my voice cracked like that. I guess I could say it now because it was out in Hanwha Life's shoulder content. Our first match of the week are two teams that went to EWC, and one of them being GenG, who's just been playing nonstop. Welcome back. Jet lag. They land. They beat the crap out of Hanwha. HLE, I was there pretty late because I was having late conversations over the LCK. HLE stayed super late. Like, usually, Wolf, how long, if you lose, let's say you lose, how long before you normally leave LCK? Because you have to do interviews, sometimes fan meet, and then leave. How long do you think that is?
It's usually about like an hour, I would say, in most cases, because some players will get sent to some players and or coach will get sent to some sort of exit press conference. Yep. Sometimes it's even like just with the LCK production staff, where the LCK production staff interview and say, what went wrong today, blah, 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 blah. That gets written down and then sent to us. So when we see Bro play the next time, Edgar's like, well, this is what I thought went wrong, and this is the things we were trying to work on. And then we have that because this is a public statement given by these players or coaches to LCK so that we can better understand them, right? Like, that's the point of this. So that sometimes there's the fan meetings, which have recently been toned down, I think, especially for most of our middling teams, right, to a point where it's like, okay, we do it really quick, and then we get out. And I'd say most teams are out within an hour, sometimes faster. If you don't have a fan meeting scheduled or your fan meeting got canceled, which happens a lot, your team might actually leave that person who is doing the exit interview behind, and they'll leave on their own, and the rest of the team like leaves practically immediately, like within 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 15, maybe 30 minutes. Maybe 30 minutes. They were there late. Like, I would say they were there longer than the team that won. I don't want to say how long specifically it was, but like they were there pretty late. And so it was fascinating because at first I was like, is the team like maybe watching the Zeus announcement together? But later on in the video that was released by Hanwha after their victory here against, was it Dplus? Yeah, I think they 2-0'd. No. Who did they beat earlier this
Sorry,
year?
I missed the question. Who are you asking about?
Who did Hanwha beat in their second series this week? Was it
KT.
Nongshim? KT. Yeah, a KT that was on the rise. They released a video the very next morning about that match. They're like, we stayed late and had some really big, tough conversations. They had that season's heart-to-heart, make it or break it, say what you need to say type of conversation. And I just know that to be true because you have that in every team at some point in the season. DNF had that like way last round, probably like the beginning of round 2. Hanwha's had theirs just now. And I think that's so fascinating for a team that's pretty solidly in second place, that has done pretty well, haven't dropped a ton of series, but have been in poor form lately. Especially with that road to MSI disappointment, into EWC disappointment, into getting slapped by a just landed the same day GenG. And they came out and they looked better. They looked better against KT. Zeus had a pretty good series. Peanut played well, got his 2000th kill. And
finally,
the reason why I bring this up, the reason why I bring this up is because we got to remember all this positive feeling about T1 and stuff. Hanwha is second place. Hanwha's the reigning champs. Hanwha has Zeus. They have the team. They have Viper. They have the team. And they just weren't functioning and firing off. And I hope that this is a moment that they can take to turn things around here, Wolf.
Yeah, I was, for those who are around me, not necessarily online and like on broadcast, know that I have been incredibly low on Hanwha. I think the way they've been playing has been very disrespectful in terms of objective setup and stuff like that. Some of their drafting, some of the ways they dive, like Peanut's individual performances. Since road to MSI, but even before that, I mean, we've talked about on this show where I'm like, they can't keep getting away with it. You're like, no, Wolf, they play to their opponents. So I'm like, nah, stop that. This team has actually got fundamental issues, right? Like you and I disagreed on that. And then I felt like those fundamental issues got hit really hard at EWC. I was like, wow, damn. Oh, this is really not good.
Wolf was right.
And then coming back to like LCK, they got bopped by GenG in game 1, but in game 2, it was actually pretty close. It was definitely a winnable game for Hanwha. Like that was, it was a 2-0, but the second game I was like, oh, okay, Hanwha's, still got something going on. Then against KT, like BDD dropped Malzahar, and I don't know if we learned that much about Hanwha, to be honest, but they looked better. They looked cleaner. So I'm looking forward to what they're going to bring to the table for next week, because while I'm super low on Hanwha in general right now, I want them to be good. I begged for them to go to the finals last summer because I wanted a non-T1 GenG finals. Please, God, we were asking like, I don't want it anymore. So I want there to be a third team that can hang in the mix, because God knows we also lost Dplus long ago. Like I want Hanwha to be good. I'm not sure if they're going to be good until they can fix a lot of their mid to late game team fighting, where Delight just hard engages and hard carries, and Viper positions perfectly, and everything else is just like hit or miss, and they just kind of go for it. It always feels very freestyle, but against a team that's better set up, for people who just are better set up than them, when they go for it, Peanut looks like an idiot. You're like, what is he doing? What's happening? It's because the other team was ready for it. They have full vision. And Peanut's like, I hit these. He does not hit those, or Delight misses his engage, or Delight gets caught on a flank, and then it's like, Hanwha don't know what to do. They're like, I don't know, Delight can't engage. We can't function. Delight always just carries these fights where he gets a 3-man rel ult and we just win by default. Like, I don't know, if he can't do it, like, we can't win. So I think Hanwha have a lot of issues to sort out. Let's talk about T1 GenG because we're running low on time, and I do think that this was the biggest story of the week. You were the only T1 predictor.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Wolf, you said specifically you were hammering it home. You said after the first GenG Hanwha series or that first GenG match of the week, you were like, I'm so tired of hearing about the jet lag narrative. I'm tired of it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, Wolf, when does jet lag really hit a team? Is it on the day that they land? No.
Oh my God, he's Wolf. A jet lag predator. He's a jet lag
I'm a
predator.
jet lag predator. A jet lag, Homeground, narrative predator. And yeah, actually, it's all those things. That's honestly all it was. I was like, man, it's going to hit him at some point. And T1 can't keep losing these home grounds. And they are in good form. It's going to be that. And honestly, after game one, I was like, holy shit, it's a 10,000 gold deficit. It might be time to go partake in the part of the casino or the part of the resort that only I can go to as a foreigner.
So you don't think it has anything to do with the fact that, like, I mean, I guess jet lag can affect people differently. Like, some people can't sleep. Some people wake up in the middle of the night. Some people are irritable. You know, some people find it very difficult to focus. Apparently for GenG, if your jet lag narrative is correct, it makes it very difficult to draft correctly. Because in game 2, they decided to draft K'Sante, Skarner, TF, Lucian, while giving Faker Azir. Should never give Faker Azir, ever. Especially not with how strong Azir is on this patch, and then be so bold to have the hubris to think like, oh, we can just TF this. We won with TF Lucian at the EWC finals. Yeah, in that game, you got gifted a double kill early. I don't know if that's going to happen again here in this game. That was the one draft for me that was insanely egregious by the side of GenG. I was like, this draft makes no sense to me. And then T1 had the really cool Aphelios Thresh read. So, like, for me, again, I didn't predict T1, but I thought their reads were super good. And I think, I know you're memeing a lot, and, like, it was a risk to take. And, you know, obviously that's how Preds work, especially when we track standings and stuff like that. And we're competing, like, who's going to get the 10 out of 10 week. You know, sometimes you take a risk, sometimes you just feel it, right? So I'm not taking anything away from you, but I think it's remiss to say the reason why T1 beat GenG was jet lag, especially with T1 also being insanely jet lagged. Considering how the series went, where they had the master stroke of the Thresh Aphelios, which I've been calling for so long, because I think this, especially when we get deeper into Fearless drafts where Engage becomes super weak, it's so easy to play Aphelios Thresh. Kerry is the best Thresh player. When I was there, because you weren't there, obviously you were at the home ground, like I was screaming Thresh at the TV when when like it was me, Valdez, and I can't remember who else was on the desk with me. It might have been Ox, but I was just screaming Thresh, and like got locked in. And I was like, yes, finally, it's happening! Like this is something that T1 is so good at, and they've got Faker on Rise. Like it was an amazing draft from T1. They outdrafted GenG in this series, in my opinion, and they play better because they're an elite team, right? And I don't want to take anything away from your pred again, and I know you're saying jet lag, and you're kind of memeing a little bit, but I think it's almost disrespectful to say like GenG were tired and that's why T1 won, because I think they just straight up got outplayed, they got outdrafted, and with how it worked out with that master stroke of the Aphelios, I'm okay with the streak being broken. Like it's a little bit sad, because the narrative has ended there, but it was a deserved win by T1 and super hype gameplay as well.
Yeah, I think the other part of that is now I just want to make sure that we did highlight appropriately that there were champ pool issues with what the meta was at the time for Guma. And now people are like, what champ pool issues? I was like, well, Callista is now pretty much dead. So therefore, you don't have to worry about that as much. And it's still like, I'm still interested to see how Aphelios or other AD carries that need a Thresh to get you around will do. Because I feel like Thresh Aphelios feels like a combo in itself. Can you do Lulu Aphelios? Can you do Yumi Aphelios? I don't know. We'll see. But
Probably a little bit
Thresh
tougher.
Aphelios specifically.
I
right?
think
Yeah.
Tom Kench Aphelios is playable, and we've seen that a lot from Keria in the past. But now this has been shown, even though I think it was a super smart idea, it'll be harder for T1 to get away with it a second time. Like, teams will just ban the Thresh, they'll ban the Tom Kench, and they'll be like, okay, the Aphelios angle is probably off the table. But it's cool that T1 has that in their wheelhouse. We've always known they've had that in their wheelhouse. I mean, at least fans have been watching Guma since his debut, where he played a ton of Aphelios. I think in his first week of LCK Pro play, because obviously he debuted at Worlds qualifiers, but I think in his first week of LCK Pro debut, he got like a pentakill on Aphelios. It was either like his first or second week, and we were like, okay, I mean, this guy is obviously good. His Aphelios is insane. So we know that Keria, like, who literally is Thresh in the LCK opening, you know, that opening where players were actually embodied as champions, like, he is actually Thresh, that he can play this. So it's cool to feel like T1 is not scared to go to these callbacks to what has been incredibly successful for them in the past. So I thought it was an awesome series. I think it was the best series of the tournament so far. Obviously, we've only had a week. I think we should briefly touch on, because a lot of this week was relatively straightforward, but I think we should briefly touch on the fact that DNF do not look better or different at all.
I mean,
they don't look better or different at all, dGon. They look the same, and that's not good.
No,
because everyone else is looking a little bit better.
Okay. We
Except
just
D+,
need a
I
larger
guess.
scale. We just need a larger scale, Wolf. Instead of like a scale of 10, it's a scale of like 100. And from there, they're 1 point better. They can't be 1 point better out of a scale out of 10, because that's too big of a growth. Because think about how they lost all those games. The early game lead, and then the objective setup that led to the downfall. Like,
That we all knew were coming
ended up
because their
winning
shot
the
calling is
game.
so bad. And they just kept doing the same thing that they did in round 2. Where we're like, okay, they have a laning lead. They won one team fight, but then can't get it done. They took a game off DRX. And the whole time, by the way, me, Twitch chat, the commentators, Reddit is all going, how are they going to lose from here? I'm not sure how it's possible to lose from here. Fox is like, I'm not sure if they can lose here. I don't know if it's actually possible. We basically said that in their series that they had against, was it Bro at the beginning of the week?
Yes.
We were like, I don't think this is losable. I don't think this is losable, but we know they're going to do it. But this one was like even more. And then they actually won. And we were like, oh, they did win. They made history, by the way. First team ever in the LCK to have 19 losses. No team has ever had 19 losses. We've never had the ability to have 19 losses before. It has been, by the way, almost a year since this team has actually won a Series 2-0. Someone sent me the exact stat. It's like 359 days or something since they've won 2-0 as an org. All of their very few wins have been in game 3s. I can't find the exact number. I think it's 359 days. This is almost basically an entire year since the team has taken any 2-0s have been dominant.
Are you on the desk with me on Wednesday?
I'm not there this week. This week I'm off LCK. I'm going back.
That's right. Okay. So then I think my fact of the week is that I'm pretty sure in game 2, DNF DRX gets their first tower at 36 minutes and 17 seconds. Like, DNF, that was the game that DNF was like, oh God, they've got Elder. They did the Elder for Baron trade. I was like, please guys, like, I don't want to think about Berserker doing push-ups. Like, he doesn't need to go get ready. He just needs another team. Like, it needs to happen. So hopefully, I don't know. Is there any part that you would ever like build again with this team? Because they used Bulldog. Do you like? I would keep Berserker, but like, holy shit, I don't know how anyone's mental would be okay.
He's starting to look a little bit better again, but it's not enough. Like, he's looked a little bit improved. There's just not a whole lot you can do right now in the middle of a year like this. We had a lot of changes in the LPL, a lot of swaps there, but unfortunately in the LCK, teams are less willing to make those kind of calls. Like, you're not going to get Zini on loan randomly. You know, they're not going to give him up, or they're going to ask for a ton of money. It's just not. It's not viable. They brought in Odin, who's a relatively successful coach, right? But I don't think he's going to be able to fix this roster right now. Honestly, for DNF, go next year. Go 2026. Just try to salvage what you can. We'll see you next year. Hopefully Berserker can play well enough to where people still value him, so he can still make a salary next year, because I think he still deserves it. But go next year. let's talk about Dplus real quick. Like we're running short on time, but like Dplus, embarrassing start to the week. Big bounce back in their second series.
Yep.
But I'm not I for Dplus, I'm worried because of two things. Same issues persist. Like Showmaker is looking really off form. And shot calling is a major issue. Barrel is doing his own thing. And then CV Max, I was promised, I was told, I saw in announcements, I saw everywhere that CV Max is going to be in the background. CV Max is going to be just an advisor.
Coach, not head coach.
Yeah, he's just going to be like one of many coaches behind Bangi. He's going to be involved in the team. He's going to be kind of like helper, right, for GenG, where it's like, yeah, he has a lot of input. He's very important to the team. However, Bangi's still running the show. And then I see CV Max. He's on stage. He's got a headset on. After the loss, he's frantically pointing at the monitor backstage. And I'm like, uh-oh. I don't know. CV Max, you're great with new talent. You've fostered and found a lot of new talent. I don't know if CV Max angrily pointing at the monitor to Barrel and Showmaker right now is 100% what this team needs. I'm a little bit worried about CV Max's coaching style colliding and clashing with some of the insane veterancy that Dplus has. Like, sure, Lucid and Shio are still pretty young. I mean, Shio's incredibly young. Lucid's got some experience now. I don't know if this kind of voice is what's going to fix it, especially because CV Max is not known for coaching shot calling problems. See his coaching of Guangdong Freaks, where they had shot calling problems very recently. He's good at harnessing new talent and often really strong drafting, which, I mean, his reputation for that has kind of dropped off and recently, but in the past, it was known for coming up with some cool new drafts. So I'm worried about what that means for Dplus.
Yeah. Just the Showmaker thing is what stresses me out. I mean, it's going to need to be a solid rest of round 3, 4, and 5 from Showmaker and Barrel. It just makes me nervous. It makes me really, really nervous just to think about it because of how much BDD is ascended and is like hard carrying the crap out of KT. And it's like, man, you guys won and you were like 1-3 and 11 to be fair on Orianna, but it's the Orianna Ari matchup against Vikla. Like, it's Vikla. Sorry, Vikla. But anyways.
Yeah,
all right.
It's tough. Let's hit Preds because next week is relatively straightforward in most of its matches, I think. As most LCK weeks are. But now that we have Rise Legend, like, it gets a little bit more like, at least the game should be in theory closer. So we start off with DRX, DK, KT, T1. I think with T1's current form, it's obviously T1. I think with DRX's current form, I hate to say
really
this, but I think it's obviously Dplus. I think I go Dplus T1 pretty easily there.
DRX is the team that can surprise, I think, here. So I think this week is actually super hard for the Rise group. Bros always struggle against being K4X. Pisses me off. I'm like, this is the game you should win. Oh, all right. Give me Dplus T1 Bro Hanwha. Go ahead.
You can do Bro Hanwha. I'm pretty confident in Bro here. I think Closer destroys Vikla, and I think that's the crux of the series. I also think Morgan on his best day better than Clear right now, so feel pretty good about that one. GenG KT for the funny. If I want to say the funny words, I'd be like, KT. Sometimes you never know. But like I think GenG's form right now is just insane, and KT are coming off of a really dumb series that they lost, that they played very weirdly in, and doesn't give me a whole lot of trust. So I feel pretty good about GenG there. DK versus DNF. I mean, if DNF couldn't do it to DRX, they're not doing it to Dplus.
Yeah. Give me the.
I assume you're in agreement there. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, this is the matchup to me that gets the most interesting. T1
the Saturday Showdown.
Yeah, that one's kind of a banger. I think it's relatively easy to predict T1 with their drafting right now, but Hanwha Life Esports did play GenG very close, and T1 has had a lot of responsibilities, right? Like, a lot of people are going to basically give the jet lag excuse if T1 lose. Like, well, they had to do the Homeground and they had to travel to Incheon and they had to do all this other content. But I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be rested. And I think that they should be able to dismantle Hanwha Life Esports. I think it'll be a good series, though. I'm going to go T1 and then BNK DRX. If I hadn't watched DRX completely fumble and actually lose a game to DNF, if I hadn't watched DRX take their best performing player UCal and bench him and then bring Teddy back after trying to develop Lazy Feel, which makes little sense to me. I get it for short-term wins, but I don't get it for long-term what they're trying to do with this roster. Then I'd go, oh yeah, maybe I give this one to DRX. BNK is tough to trust. But with Raptor looking good and with DRX looking bad, I think that's a BNK pred for me.
Off of the bro loss and DRX's potential upset win over Dplus. Yeah. Is this where I flip it? Is this where I flip the perfect week on DRX over BNK? Yeah. I wish we knew who the starting roster was. Since we don't, give me BNK. I guess we're just going to be the same.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. T1.
Last
T1
day,
BNK.
Last day, super easy. Bro smashed DNF. I don't think it'd be close.
Yep.
I know for your bro sort of rule, like usually one of the series goes poorly. I don't think this one's going to be the one.
Yeah, it's the
I think
BNK
it's another bro 2-0 week. Yeah, we were kind of like, I don't know. We were kind of thinking bro might run the Rise group. Like this was a discussion we've had. The Korean casters are kind of, I've heard them talking a little bit similar. Like maybe bro actually could be the best team in Rise. From 3 to 5. We'll see, but if they can get over the hurdle of BNK, they certainly should be able to get over the hurdle of DNF. And then GenG Nongshim is they made that series interesting yesterday. It was a lot closer than the 2-0 scoreline actually shows, and they were super resilient and they were able to fight back quite a bit. But I think GenG is just a little bit too oppressive. I think GenG is way better at preventing those types of comebacks to happen. And Faker got caught a lot. I don't think Chovy is going to be the same way. So gonna have to give GenG probably a 2-0 nod there. Pretty straightforward week. Looking forward to it though.
It is pretty straightforward. Again, Saturday Showdown is probably the biggest one we're gonna have in the whole thing. No, there's Hanwha GenG later and then T1 GenG. Okay, never mind. They saved two great ones for the final for round 5.
We'll have a few weeks of that after this, but we'll get back.
Yeah, after T1 Hanwha, it's DRX Bro and then Nongshim KT. So we'll see. All right. That does it here from us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for more Monte Wolf. Bye.
Bye.